Good morning, team. We're going to start in just a couple minutes. I'll be right back with you soon. All right. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? Everybody good?
Hey, what's
Good
up?
morning.
All right. Welcome to Ignite. What are we on? Number 4, I believe, of Elementals, and we're going to wrap this whole thing up next week. So very exciting. Today, obviously, is our seller appointments class, which, pretty important. The name of the game in real estate is listings, right? List to last, they've said for ages. We want to control the inventory and market share, especially in light of how competitive our environment is and how much technology disruption there is from, these tech startup type companies entering real estate. Our commissions are really being, threatened. And with that said, when you have all the listings, you get to choose how much the commission is. But on the buyer side, you don't, right? You pretty much have to take what you can get. So with that said, it's really important to develop strong listing skills. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about tools that we're going to give to you through KW, which are some great stuff here, and the process. So basically, this is what we're going to be looking at today. So we're going to talk about what sellers want. What are they looking for in terms of an agent, as well as the sales process? We're going to talk about before the appointment, which is our pre-qual and pre-listing package, a very important time of the listing process. And then we're going to talk about the actual presentation. In Command, we're going to look at our listing presentation that you guys all have access to right now. It's been designed and created for you. All you got to do is add your branding onto it, which is pretty simple. And then we're going to talk about the actual appointment, and I'm going to give you some tools for scripting and objection handling and so on. And then we'll recap at the end of the day. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So how do sellers find their agents? Okay, so if we take a look at our graph here, 39%, and by the way, this is all from the National Association of Realtors. Every year they do a survey of home buyers and sellers. So this is from 2019. It'll be interesting to see what the 2021 says through the whole pandemic, but this is 2019. And basically it says here 39% of sellers got their agent because of a referral from a friend, neighbor, or relative. Okay. And then 27% use the agent previously. So if you add those two together, you're looking at like 65, 66%. So 2 out of 3 sellers found their agent because of a referral or an existing relationship. Now, what are the other ones? Well, we've got, let's see here, 5% by personal contact, like maybe a door knock, 4% through a website, 3% by coming into an open house, and then 22% is kind of labeled other, just a bunch of onesies, twosies. So, the key takeaway here is that, yes, you can meet sellers by knocking on doors, by, doing open houses, but the vast majority of homeowners found their agent through a direct personal relationship. And the key is, it's your database, guys. We've talked about this probably every class about the importance of your database, having a consistent database that you prospect to over and over and over again to build your name recognition, and adding new people into the database through lead gen, right? Adding new people in from the open houses that you meet and the door knocking that you do and whatever online marketing you might be doing. Okay. So super important. Now, here's another statistic, which I don't think is on our slide here. 75% of sellers only contact one agent before they pick one, right? 75%. And 15% more to that would talk to 2 agents before picking one. So 90% of sellers are going to choose one of the first 2 agents they meet. Okay. So think about that, 90%. The good news for you guys, you just have to get in the door. You just have to make that initial connection with someone thinking about moving, and you're highly likely to earn the business. There's no such thing as a guarantee. You still got to do your part, but the vast majority of sellers are going to work with the first person that they meet, which is pretty incredible. So the numbers are in your favor, right? So you got to think about, what does your database look like? And then how are you communicating and making those appointments and creating the relationships? Okay. Let's keep going here. One sec. Here we go. All right, perfect. All right, so the next slide is this. What does a seller want? What are they looking for? What are they expecting out of their agent? Okay, so obviously there's a couple things here that would make total sense to us. One of which is helping to market the property, and that's one of the bigger ones at 21%. Help sell the home in a specific time frame, right? So they're concerned about making sure the timing is going to work in their favor. They want help pricing the property competitively. They want help fixing up the home so they can sell it for more. They want advice from you guys, do a walkthrough with them. And they want to help find the buyer, right? Obviously, that's what we do, is market to find the buyer. So a couple of different components here. And this is all obviously besides the basics of professional, friendly, likable, right? These are the other objectives they're looking for. Now, a small percentage of people stated they wanted help with paperwork, inspections, and negotiating. And here's the reality though, they all extremely need that, right? They need it to an extreme because, as you know, our files are hundreds of pages long now, and disclosure and inspections and navigating that whole process is very, very important. And there's a lot of risk and liability there. So obviously that is a big component of it that most sellers just don't know that it exists. That's why a lot of for sale by owners think they can go and sell their own home until they realize the mountains of paperwork and all the civil code required documents they have to deliver, right? So that's one piece you can be using to market as well, okay? So let's take a look at the process to a listing on the slides here. So the first thing we do, as it says, pre-listing questionnaire. This is basically what we would call a pre-qualify. Okay, we're going to ask a series of questions before we go out to the property for a few reasons, and we'll talk about those in a minute. And then we're going to book that appointment or have that appointment booked already to go out to the property. And then we're going to send a pre-listing packet. Here's the good news. I'm going to give you one today that is basically all made. All you got to do is put your name and license number and contact info on it. Pretty simple. Okay. Then the listing presentation itself. Okay, so we actually have a full-blown listing presentation. As I mentioned, I'm going to show you how to access that and get that, basically put together with your branding on it. And then we go to the house. We show up. We're excited. It's showtime, baby, right? We're going to go and actually give the presentation with the intention to get a signed contract. Okay. So with that said, let's keep going here. We're going to dive kind of deep into each one of these components. So, oops. So before the appointment, obviously prior to the appointment, there's some pre-work. Okay. It's going to be pretty rare that you're going to, book an appointment and just show up same day, right? You want to plant some seeds here. Okay. And the reason why is, if you recall, when we took the seller's portion of Spark, we talked about A, B, and C clients, right? The A's that are ready, willing, and able now, the B's that are ready and willing, but may not be able to do what they want to do financially or another circumstance. And then the C's that really don't have any motivation, that are, more than a few months away. If we don't ask questions up front, we're not going to know, right? If all they say is we're going to sell our house, you don't know if that means tomorrow or in a year, right? So that's why we're going to be asking some of these questions. So sellers usually have been thinking about selling their home for a while, right? This is not something that people wake up on a Sunday morning and say, let's sell the house today, right? They've been thinking about this. So they have expectations. They have expectations about pricing, timelines, what the move's going to look like, that they want you to meet. And the expectations may be reasonable, it might not be reasonable, but the first step is discovering what those expectations are, what the motivation is, what the timeframes are, okay? And so we can work with the seller to adjust their expectations once we know what they are, but you can't, set any sort of expectation without knowing what they are first. So this is all part of the asking questions process, okay? So pre-listing, what are we looking to accomplish here? Well, number one, we're looking to state the value. You need to tell them why they should work with you, right? This is your unique selling proposition, which I believe we did in week 2 of Ignite. You can go back and watch the video. And then number 2, pre-selling. So what does that mean? It means building confidence. It means setting yourself up as a professional, answering questions, right? When you deliver that pre-listing package and you ask the pre-qual questions, you're setting yourself up as a professional, okay? And then number 3 is to save time. Save time. Well, how do we save time? Well, basically, this is going to allow us to, 1, find out if they're planning to list when we show up. And then 2, dive into the motivation to see what's going to happen, right? Are they ready to sign? Are they motivated enough to move forward? And can you help them? And then 3, objections. One of the most powerful things you can do on a pre-qual is to draw out the objections. Now, normally, you're not going to handle objections over the phone, okay? And the reason why is because oftentimes that can get you in trouble. If they ask you how much you want to list the property for, or if they ask you, what your commission is, or what your, how long the contract is, if you give that information up front, they can oftentimes use that to bargain with another agent. Okay. So you tell them 6%, another agent comes back and says, oh, I'll do it for 5, right? And now you're basically competing on price instead of value, and that's a losing game every single time. Okay. So what I typically recommend is when you ask questions like, do you have any questions before I arrive? And they say, what's your commission? You'll say, well, it's totally negotiable. And I'll make a note that it's important to you. And it's one of the first things we'll talk about when I show up to your house on Saturday at 11. I basically deflect, but I want to know. I want to know. Okay. So you guys tell me, besides commission, what other questions or objections do you think you're going to get from a seller when you're at an appointment? You tell me. What do you guys think?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I would say, what are you going to do differently than the other agent?
Yep. What are you going to do different than the other agents to get my home sold? Sure. What else? What other questions, objections?
Is staging involved?
Okay. Does staging come with the process?
Yes. And then that my son's best friend's grandma is a realtor and I want to list with them.
We got another realtor involved, right? We have another referral. Absolutely. They've never sold a house, but I want to use them. Okay.
Yeah, and that
Well,
they are giving them 50% off their commission. So do you discount your commission?
exactly, right? Again, competing on price is a losing game. What
Yeah.
else? What else do you think you'll hear? Questions or objections?
If I let you list, would you give me part of your commission back?
Will you rebate me the commission or lower your commission, right? Absolutely. Yes. No one thinks you'll ever hear anything about price,
Yes.
right? We're going to get price for sure. Absolutely. So price and commission are the ones I encounter the most. Staging, I personally don't pay for it. I know there's agents out there that either will pay for it or have their own kind of staging businesses or referral sources for staging that they can use, which can be a value add for sure. So absolutely. Now, here's the thing, folks. You know, we're not going to break down each one of these objection handlers, but I'm going to show you where our script books are. And you guys, you need to practice them, right? You need to practice these conversations. And one thing that's good about the pre-listing package and the pre-qualifying questionnaire is when you ask and they say, you know, do you stage? What is your commission? Will you kick me back some money? What are you going to list the property for, right? All you're doing is getting the objections up front while you're sitting at home on the phone or at the office. And that gives you time to make a note that they brought it up and for you to focus on those key objections. That way you can do your best to try to head it off at the pass, as they say, right? Get in front of it. So that way you're not just showing up and then all of a sudden you have written in 6% in your contract and they say, oh, my neighbor, you know, who's never sold a house said they do it for 4%, right? If you don't know that going into it, it's going to make it a lot harder for you to be prepared, right? So some of the basics like commission price, you're going to want to know those scripts no matter what, right? Those are just normal things that we hear a lot about. But the other ones that we talked about are things that you do want to practice for, okay? Personally, most of the listing appointments I've gone on, it's price and it's commission, and that's about it. They typically don't ask about marketing. Staging comes up because I'll do a walk through the property and make some recommendations. But for the most part, you know, they're not going to ask you too much about your marketing. If you come across professional and you know your scripting, they're just going to assume you know how to get a house sold. Okay. So what they really want to know is, what am I going to net and how fast is this going to happen? Right. So some things to consider. All right, let's keep going. So pre-listing packet. Where do we find this? Okay, so I'm going to drop in the chat yet again a link to my script folder. Guys and gals, make sure you copy and paste this link on your phone, on your computer, somewhere, so you always have access to it. Inside that script folder, I'm going to just show you real quickly on my computer, but it is a Google Drive, okay? Let me reshare real quick. Okay, so you guys see right here, right? We have the Ignite Toolkit. That's going to be in the Google Drive. When you open that and you scroll down a little bit, look, pre-listing questionnaire. And this is what it is. How did you hear about me? Where are you moving to? What's the motivation to move there? How soon do you have to be there? If I sold your home in the next 30 days, would that be a problem for you? What would happen if your home didn't sell? How much do you want to list for? How much do you own the property? I'm going to send you a packet of information. Do you have any questions? Will you take a few moments and then do you have any questions? And then will all decision makers be there when I come out? Okay. Real simple questions, but you're just kind of digging in and asking for, you know, some basic motivation. And then, you know, that last question, will all the decision makers be there? Very important, right? If there's multiple people on title, they need to be there. Okay. Now, that's the pre-listing questionnaire. You can download that. Every time you have a listing appointment, you're going to ask these questions before you go to the property. Right above that is the pre-listing presentation. Okay. It's going to look a little weird because I'm not opening it in Word. But this is a Word document, guys, and you can brand this to your heart's desire. And it's called A Guide to Selling Your Home. Folks, outside of delivering this to your listing opportunities, I think that this is a very valuable packet that you can save as a PDF and use for items of value to give to people that aren't even like committed to a listing appointment, right? Let's say you're door knocking and someone says, yeah, we've been thinking about selling. You can say, hey, would you like me to send you my guide to selling a home? Yes, awesome, right? And now you've got an item of value to deliver. They can read through it. You get to follow up now and asking you if they have any questions about what they read. And that's one thing, right? You can also, folks, if you want to go, level 10, you can run some Facebook ads with this. Thinking about selling your home, download our free guide to selling your home, right? Or free guide to selling your home in this competitive market or whatever, right? You can get some cool verbiage on there that might get people to click and send you their information, okay? So you can run a little Facebook lead form ad and try to find some seller opportunities, right? So what's in here? Well, first, it's all about you. It always starts with that. It's all about you. And I will help you buy. And it talks about all the things you're going to do to help them sell. There's a kind of a checklist for getting ready to list in here. It talks about what pricing is going to look like when we actually have the appointment. It talks about the factors affecting value, price, location, condition, competition, timing, etc. It talks about pricing, and this is by far, guys, one of my favorite little graphics to use on my listing appointments, right? And what I do with this is this allows me to kind of pre-handle objections for pricing. What it shows is that where you're going to get the most competition and the most money, right? A well-priced home is going to create interest, attract buyers, etc. Underpriced will get a lot of buyers and sell quickly, but it may get questions like what's wrong with the house, and it may get even more low balls. And overpriced is just going to be lack of any sort of competition, right? You're looking for that one buyer that absolutely loves the house. So really at or a little bit below market is where you want to be. So I always show that the closer to market value or below, the more buyers are going to come see your home. The more buyers that come see your home, the more competition I'll be able to create by selling to them as they decide if they want to submit offers or not. Okay. Then it talks about condition. And then it has a little questionnaire for them. What's the most important thing you're looking for in an agent? What other real estate experience have you had? When's the last time you bought or sold a property? How would you like to be communicated with? How frequently would you like an update on marketing and showings, right? And then lastly is the About Me page. And there's a big thing here that says this is optional. Complete it or take it out. Obviously, you're not going to just leave this in here filled out with insert geographical area of interest, right? You'll need to get in there and make the changes, okay? So, folks, this is sitting here ready for you. You can put some testimonials in there. All you got to do is really just take the last page off and put your name on here and you're good to go. Obviously, you could also brand it a little bit more if you wanted to as well, okay? So again.
I have a question about the testimonial parts, please.
Yes.
Because I'm new, I wouldn't have any testimonials. So, one of like I had a script partner who's in San Diego, and she asked me to write a testimonial for her, and she would do the same for me. And at that time, I was like, I don't know about that. So, can I do that? Because I've not sold anything, but what do I do?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing, folks. Great question. You don't need to have sold houses to get a testimonial. So what does that mean? That means that anybody can write a recommendation for you just based on who you are. And I recommend you do that right away. I recommend that you are out talking to all of your family and your closest friends saying, will you go on Google and just write a quick review for me about, my honesty and integrity. You don't have to say, I bought a house from this person, right?
Right.
All you have to say is, I found Priya to be honest and highly reputable, and I would not hesitate to use her as a real estate agent, right? And those are all, I would assume most of your family and friends are going to say that about you guys, right?
Awesome. Oh my God, that's great.
Yep.
Thank you.
All of you can get at least 10 reviews by the end of the week just by doing that. Okay. So I highly recommend. And then, brings up another question. Where should you do reviews? Well, I'll tell you this. The big probably three are like Google, Zillow, and Yelp. Okay, those are probably three of the biggest ones. Now, Yelp the person reviewing you has to be a Yelper, meaning they have to have other reviews. Otherwise, you're not gonna, they won't post your review. It's gonna be filtered into the non-recommended reviews. Okay, there's a section where they're basically saying if you're not a Yelper, you don't have any credibility to review anybody yet. And then on Zillow, you do have to state this person either sold me a home, or I listed my home with them, or we looked at houses, or we looked at rentals. So there is more of a, we actually did some sort of real estate business together. On Google, neither of those apply. Okay, so I would suggest you start with Google until you start building up some more credibility, and then you can add all of the referral sources over time, right? Or Facebook, your Facebook business page would be one as well. Or you can just put them on this, right? And just have them in writing. You know, most people are going to want to find you online these days. So I would suggest having something to that effect. Okay.
Awesome.
Just a
Thank
little
you.
tip, just a little tidbit on Yelp.
Yep.
After you've reached so many reviews, their salespeople will start reaching out to you,
yeah.
selling you like a $350 package to advertise. And after you reject it so many times, they actually start deleting some of your Yelp reviews.
Yeah. Yelp has proven to be pretty ruthless in.
Yeah, they are. They're very ruthless.
And they
That
got to
was my
make.
experience.
Yep. They got to make money. So
Yeah,
obviously
totally.
they can do that. So yeah, thanks for that feedback. That's great.
Sure, no problem.
Any other questions about the pre-listing package that's right here available to you? We happy?
I had a question. Can we leave this for FISBOs? Like when we're trying to convince them that we are a better.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely. You know, I think this is powerful for actual appointments, but I think it's just as powerful for acquiring new business, because look, it says a guide to selling your home. So what seller wouldn't want that, right? Expired listings, for sale by owners, people that you ran into at door knocking or whatever. Absolutely. Would you like a free copy of my guide to selling your home? Yes. Awesome. Do you want me to text it or email it to you? Text is good. What's your cell number? Boom, done. By the way, while I'm writing that down, what's your email? And guess what? Now you have contact information to get into your database, right? That's super important. And it's just one of those pieces of collateral that people want. You know, they'll see value in this if you pitch it the right way. So I love that idea.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll use that. And do we have any door knocking? People who are interested in door knocking. I was really interested. I have some friends who are seeing great success with it. So I was really interested. I'm just too scared to go out on my own.
Yeah, well, I think you got some friends online right here. So if you guys all want to connect, I highly recommend. No one succeeds alone. Okay. So with that said, you guys should all be dropping your numbers in the chat, looking each other up. I know we're all in multiple market centers, but we're not all far away from each other. So, you know, make connections. And there are absolutely people on here, I'm sure, that would be happy to go door knock with you.
Priya, I will go with you. I'm in the same boat.
There you
Right?
go.
Myself.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you.
I'll go too. I'll be up for going as well.
Perfect. Let's do it.
So, you know, just private message each other, drop your numbers in there or however you want to handle it. But, you know, make sure you're connecting with your fellow agents and, you know, let's get a mob out there. Right. So
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks a lot.
you got it. And then Gerson, I just dropped my link to my script folder there, copy and paste that. And this is, this guide is inside.
Appreciate it.
You got it. It's inside the Ignite toolkit in the scripts folder. Okay. All right, let's keep rolling. Let me get back to our slides here. Cool. So that is our pre-listing package. So let's talk about the actual listing presentation now. I mean, we understand the pre-listing packet's gonna, you know, set us apart, set us up as a professional, give value, give you credibility. Now we want to talk about the actual listing presentation. Okay. So the purpose of a listing presentation ultimately is to get the seller to list with you. And we want to do that by creating a great impression to build the seller's confidence in you as their agent, right? We want to build confidence with people. And we want to share your price recommendation. And I'm going to put in quotes here, maybe. Okay. Sometimes you want to give the pricing up front. Other times you may choose not to. Now, there's two schools of thought and either one's fine. Okay. Some people want to put the price in the listing presentation and give it to the seller before they get there. That way, if the seller doesn't like the price, they can be upset while you're not there, right? And then you go and you could kind of talk a little bit more about it after they've cooled down. Others would rather not do the pricing up front so they can help the seller come to the pricing conclusion by presenting it to them, which is how I personally prefer to handle it, okay? The third kind of objective for the listing presentation is to set the expectations for how you are going to work with them, and then ultimately lead to a signed contract, okay? So again, just like the pre-listing packet, you don't have to figure this out for yourself. We have multiple listing presentations, so I'm gonna show you how to get one, and I'm also going to give you some resources for how to basically design one, okay? So give me 1 sec while I get to command. I'm also gonna drop in the chat a link here. So the link I'm posting is how to create the listing presentation in Designs. Okay. Nope, I don't think I got it all. How to create a, let me see here. Oh, I see what happened. 1 second. I think what we want is this. Okay, this link should get you to how to create the listing presentation. Okay, now let me get into our command platform for you guys to take a look at this. Okay. So here we are in command. Okay. I'm going to open up the menu by clicking on our little KW logo, and then the bottom left is Designs. If you haven't been exposed to the Designs section of command, folks, this is crucial for you guys to be using this, because this is where you're going to create any sort of marketing that you desire. Okay. And you can see I've got a bunch of things that I've made in the past. There are door hangers in here, by the way, for those of you who want a door knock. But I'm going to show you specifically how to create your listing packet. The first thing that you need to do, folks, is go up under your name, go to your, let's see, I think it's in settings. And then in connect settings right here, marketing profile. Okay, this is a one-time thing. Once you do this, you're going to put in your logo, you're going to put in your contact information, your social media links, et cetera, et cetera. Once you have all that in there, it'll auto-populate throughout most of command, like on your website, your app, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and when you've done that, you can then go back into Designs here. And here's how to get to the listing presentation. We go to create, okay, create design. For this, we're going to add a print, okay, print meaning it's going to be a PDF, which means we can print it or we can actually deliver it electronically via email or text. So print. And that's going to launch our workspace here, our Designs environment. This is very similar to Canva, by the way, if any of you have used that before. I was already looking at this today, but what you would do is you would go to listings here on the left, and then look, listing presentation, which is where I'm at now. And basically these are all the same in terms of content. The difference is just going to be the look, okay, the layout essentially, okay. So I'm just going to pick this first one. We'll click use. All right, and so you can actually order this to be printed as well, by the way. All right, so basically you have all the pages of the listing presentation on here, okay? There's an instruction page, which, you know, it's a little bit small for the print, but it tells you how to set this up. And then it tells you to make sure you delete this page before you print it, obviously. has a little information about the client. You can make these specific to a client, or you can take some of the custom pieces out and just use the listing presentation itself. Okay. There is a overview of what's in this presentation. Then we've got a little bit of information about the property. Then we've got some market statistics, and all this is customizable based on the zip code or the neighborhood area that KW Command uses. So you can pull this data and not have to do it yourself. It's really simple to go in there and do that. I'm not going to go in and do all these things because that wasn't the intent for today, but the link I gave you tells you how to update this stuff. Then you've got your comps in here. Then it talks about your needs, right? And then it talks about the process to sell a property and so on and so forth. I wasn't going to plan to go through every single page here, but there's probably 30 pages in this listing presentation that you can use to get really dialed in with the process and really dialed in with the actual presentation. And for the most part, you can use this just to read off of as you go at the property. You just start flipping through the pages and using that to just read it, right? Here's the process. Here's, let's talk more about you. Here's the comps, right? It's all set up for you, pretty self-explanatory. You just have to, spend some time updating this up front for yourself, okay? Does anyone have any questions about where to go to get this at this time? Okay, good. I know there's a lot in Command, but this is one of those things where it's like, okay, you're at an open house. There's not a ton of traffic. Open this up and start adding in your branding and the logo and all that stuff, right? This is a great time for you to be, updating that stuff when you're sitting at the open house with people not showing up, okay? All right, let's get back to our slides here. And back to our okay, perfect. So that's Command, that's the listing presentation. It says, your needs come first, obviously. So this is the first page of the listing presentation, but it is important to set this up for, the presentation itself, because, you want to focus the entire presentation around them, not you. What do you want to do? What are you looking to accomplish? What are your needs? What are your expectations? You want to be asking questions and then getting them to talk in your presentation. If you find yourself on a listing presentation or a buyer presentation and you're talking 90% of the time, we're doing it wrong. That's not selling. That's just you talking and trying to convince them that you're the greatest thing on earth. But what ends up happening is you tend to talk too much and you talk yourself right out of a deal. Okay, not a good thing. So let's keep going here. All right, two other things that I want to talk to you about are the listing presentation and the objection handling, okay? I'm gonna go back into our Ignite toolkit, okay? Let me actually do this real quick, 1 second. Okay, so here's our Ignite toolkit right here, right? Inside the Ignite toolkit is Ignite Elemental's script book. So here's where all the scripts exist. And if you scroll down to like page 6 and 7, 5, 6, and 7, this is going to be your scripting for working with sellers. So it talks about best practices. It talks about the listing presentation and reviewing the answers from their listing packet that they filled out. And then what it would be like to deliver a 10X experience. Why me? Helping see value through the eyes of a buyer, signing the contract. Okay. In addition to that, it talks about pricing. In addition to that, close the deal script, which is basically asking for the contract to be signed. And then on page number 10 and 11 are objection handlers for agents with more experience, want to think it over, lower commission, reduce your commission, not netting enough money, pricing high and reducing later, or how do we know the price is the right price? Okay, so there's a bunch of objections and handlers. This is what you guys should be script practicing. So I would recommend for those of you that are going to go out door knocking or not, go out and door knock but right before or right after, spend 20 minutes and read your objection handlers back to each other. Just go back and forth over and over and over again. And then read through the listing presentation scripting. So you have that accessible as well. Okay. All right, let's see. 1 second here, Sandy, I'm sending you the link. I think you're on, were you on? Okay, all right. Let's go back into our slides again. And there we are. Okay, cool. So, again, all this stuff exists for you. You don't have to make it up. And I really recommend you dig into the content and the materials. I know it's a lot. I mean, we've already looked at a lot of stuff today. We looked at the pre-qual questionnaire. We looked at the pre-listing package, the listing presentation, the listing script, the objection handling scripts. There is a lot there. You just need to chunk it down and dedicate, time after your lead gen in the mornings and start practicing and learning this stuff, right? Because you don't want to wing it. You don't want to practice on live humans, right? You don't want to go on a listing presentation where you have the chance to earn $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 by getting a contract signed and then winging it or making it up or using your own script that you've never practiced before, right? You've got to be, learning this stuff if you really are going to take this seriously. And this is how you set yourself up as a professional, right? That's just the bottom line. This is what professionals do. They use scripting. By the way, every industry uses scripts, right? I mean, you go to any restaurant, they're reading off a script, car dealership, they're reading off a script. They're all doing the same because it's tried and true. The scripting works to get you to buy or sell, whatever it is, right? So there's no reason in your sales business you would not do the exact same thing, okay? All right, let's move on. The listing appointment. Okay, so we know we've got our listing presentation printed out. You should have a copy of your listing agreement with you, or be prepared to get a DocuSign at the appointment. My listing presentation videos on the listing agreement are at the link I'm about to post right here. You want to go and review the listing agreement overview videos. So that way you are familiar with what's in there and you can explain it efficiently and know where to fill it out and get it signed. Good news with the listing agreement, there's really only a handful of things you got to write in there. Definitely less than the purchase agreement. But watch the videos, right? You can even just listen on YouTube as you're driving. And then if you want to, follow along and watch when you're ready to actually fill one out in zip forms, there you go. Okay. And then, right, you're going to go into Command. You're going to create an opportunity in Command and start moving them through your sales pipeline so you can start tracking your numbers effectively. And then you're going to get to the house. You're going to do the walkthrough. Okay. It's important to establish yourself as professional right away. You've already been doing that all along by asking the qualifying questions, giving the pre-list package, bringing a professional listing presentation. I actually personally bought a binder on Amazon, and I would print my listing presentation. I would put a plastic clear cover sheet on it and cardstock in the back, and I would, spiral bind it with me. So I had like a full package to hand to them. And I think it was like maybe 60, 70 bucks to get the binder. And then I bought the cardstock, the clear cover sheet, and then the spirals. Okay. And I always took that with me because I wanted like something that looked legit pro, not just, a couple of pages of comps from the MLS. Right. And that's what I would leave with them. Okay. Now, when you get to the house, you've got your professional materials. One thing that I always do, and I don't know, this may sound hokey, but I would say, before I walked in, I would say, thank you so much for having me over. I just want to let you know before I come in, I am 100% committed to getting your home listed and sold. Right. And I just tell them straight up, that's my expectation for the day. Okay. And they usually say, oh yeah, great. Okay, cool. Right. And then may I come in? I'm in, boom. Then you're going to do the walkthrough. Okay. So essentially it's like a minute or two of meet and greet. Then you're doing your walkthrough. Right. And we have actually, in that same scripting folder, there is a home walkthrough survey in the Ignite toolkit. And it just is a 2-pager. You can go into that and just make note of things in the house, like what kind of design and features and, heating and cooling and materials for flooring, et cetera, right? So you can start, making note of all these things as you walk through the property. Now, some agents will say, never let the client walk with you. And then the other half will say, let them walk with you, right? And here's the reason why. People think that if you let the seller come with you through the house, they're going to start pointing out all these things they've done to the house. And in their brains, the price is racking up, right? Like, oh, we remodeled the kitchen, and oh, here's the bath, and I just refinished the floors. Next thing you know, they added 50 grand to your comps, right? Now, I personally haven't had a ton of experience with that. And for me, it was more, I would rather have you as the seller walk me through. Tell me why you bought the house, right? Point out some of the features that you've done to the place that you love, right? I'll know if it's on trend right now. If they tell me, yeah, we remodeled the kitchen in 1998. Oh, great. Okay. Well, guess what? That's not really what buyers are looking for today, right? So, I'll tell them straight up, that's great. I'm glad you did. If it's not done within 5 years, though, it's not going to really affect your pricing. Okay. And that's what an appraiser would say. So I walk the property. I usually drop my stuff off at the dining room or the kitchen, depending on how it's set up, somewhere comfortable and easy, to have a discussion. And then we start thinking about what it looks like to close the deal, right? And I showed you in the script book where the closing verbiage is, okay? And really, it's as simple as, do we agree on price? Yes, awesome. All we need to do now is simply sign the contract so I can help you get what you want in the time you want. Won't that be great? Yes, sign the contract. It's really that simple, okay? Folks, I want you to, maybe take a note here. You can get caught up in the weeds with the verbatim words of the listing presentation and all that stuff. And I get it, right? But really, the listing presentation is broken down into a few different little categories. Number one is what I would call the meet and greet, right? You show up at the door, there's some idle chit chat, small talk, right? And then you do the tour, right? Take a look at the house. And then number three is where you recap the motivation, right? The third part is where I'm going to go through the listing pre-qual and say, you told me you're moving to Texas. You said you needed to be there in 90 days. You said you wanted to price your home at 600,000. You said that blah, 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 right? Has anything changed since the last time we spoke? So I'm recapping. Step 3 for me is recap the motivation. Step 4 for me is explaining how buyers determine value. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you know how buyers determine value? No? Okay, well, buyers determine value by comparison shopping. They're going to look at the price and features of your home. They're going to compare it to the features and benefits of another home and what their price is. And they're going to pick based on their needs, right? And then the script I use gives an example of like buying a car, right? Buying one car for 20 grand and then buying the same car for 20 grand, but it has like navigation and, up 20-inch rims and whatever, right? Upgrades basically. And what I'm looking at there is basically the showing them that if you're going to have two cars for the same price, the one that has more features and benefits, that's the one people are going to pick, right? So you either add more feature and benefits to the same price to create value, or you drop your price. So then I explain how buyers determine value, and then I look at the comps. Now, comparables are so important. I have to be a little bit clear about this. You can't just like open your book and say, here's the comps and just hand them over, right? You need to know the comps like the back of your hand. And ideally, you'll have 3 or 4 sold recently that are going to guide the seller to your price. Okay. So you need to know if another home has more features and benefits, less features and benefits, or about the same. Okay. So I'm not going to, again, just hand the comps over. I'm going to say, so Mr. Seller, this home is just like yours. It's 3.2, 1,500 square feet. Now, this home has more features and benefits than your home. They just did a complete custom remodel. It wasn't a flip. They did it for themselves. They use high quality finishes. They're including all the appliances. They just landscaped the backyard. So this home has more features and benefits, and it sold for $650, right? And then this home actually has less features and benefits. your condition is better, right? And they sold for $590. And then this one's just like yours, very similar, same price, same sort of footage, same bedrooms and baths, and it sold for $625. Right? So I've given them like the guide. They know that a lesser condition one is at $590, a better one's at $650, a similar one at $625. Where should we price? Somewhere between $6 and $625 probably, right? So then you ask them, what price do you think we should use to get someone to decide to buy your home versus the competition, right? So we explain the comps and then we move to closing. What price do you feel we should use? Well, if that one sold for $625, that seems like my best bet. You're right, $625, that's what I was going to recommend as well. All we need to do now is simply sign the contract so I can help you get what you want the time you want. Won't that be great? Yes, sign the contract, right? That's our close. So that's the overview. We do the meet and greet, we do the walk, we recap the motivation, we explain value, we explain the comps, and we close for a signature, okay? And then once you have that thing signed, get the hell out of there, right? You don't need to talk about anything else. You got the ink, right? Go and freak out in the car for a little bit and come back and game plan, right? Because I know you'll be nervous and excited, especially if it's your first listing or even your second or third. And that's all you need to address at that point in time, right? So that's basically kind of what I think of in terms of the process. And when I think of those like 6 bullet points, it allows me to not have to worry as much about my scripting because I know what I need to address, right? I know I need to meet and greet, build rapport, right? I know I need to look at the house so I can come up with the value because oftentimes you won't have seen the property prior to the listing appointment. So it won't be easy for you to decide what the correct listing price is, okay? And then you need to explain the value after you've done recap the motivation so you can confirm that they are motivated to do something, right? If the motivation isn't high, there's not a good likelihood you're going to get a contract signed. And then the comps and the value, very important piece to that. There is a little bit of an art form to explaining it. Just again, you can't go in there and just hand comps over or point to the prices. You have to tell them this home is better than yours. It has more features and benefits, and here's what they are. Be prepared to explain why that price is higher than what yours is going to sell for most likely. Okay, because if you don't explain that properly, they're just going to look at the highest comp and say, well, let's go a little higher than that, right? So obviously that's not good for you. And then, most salespeople don't make it in any sales business because they don't ask for the order, meaning they don't ask for the signature. So don't finish your presentation and then say, what do you think? They're going to say, we want to think about it, right? You're telling them to think. You don't want them to think, you want them to sign. So all we need to do is sign the contract. Won't that be great? Yes, here you go. Here's the price we discussed. Here's the 6% commission. It's a 6-month contract. Everything else, pretty much self-explanatory. We'll talk about my scope of work and initial here at the bottom. Done. Boom. And get up and get on out of there, right? So, all right. Team, that's basically it for today. I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your ahas? What are some things that you heard today that are going to help you? What are some things that you got a different perspective on? What are some tools and action items that you can use going forward? Who wants to share? Go for it.
There's something. I like what you mentioned. Don't practice on clients, just role play. Prepare 20 minutes before, and that's how you get that system done.
Yep. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? So the more you spend time learning this stuff, I'll tell you what else happens. Gerson, I'm glad you brought that up. When you know your script, you don't have to go to an appointment and be thinking about what to say next. What happens often in sales in this environment is you go to your listing appointment, you don't have your script dialed in, and then all you're thinking about as they're talking is what your next question is, and you no longer listen, right? You're not listening to them. And when I say listen, I mean take in the information from them, what they're saying verbally, how they're saying it with their tonality, and how they're delivering it with their body language, right? When I go on a listing presentation now, I am staring at the client, looking for little clues as to, are they being receptive to my information? And is it an appropriate time to close? Because you can pick that up by just looking at the way that they're sitting and they're talking to you, right? But if you don't know your scripting, you won't even be close to be able to pay attention to any of that stuff, right? So memorize verbatim, word for word, get your scripting down. It'll make you far more effective.
True. We want to live the moment.
Right, be in that moment. Who else? Who else got something for me?
Something at the beginning, just how important it is to just get that first appointment.
I had
Being
this on my
that,
Zoom. I didn't see y'all call.
Go for it. Sorry.
being that 75% of sellers are gonna work with the first agent that they meet, and then obviously then the other 15% it's each gonna be one or the other. So getting in front of them is just so important.
You just got to get your butt in the seat when you got the chance. So who else? Who else?
I really love that triangle in that pre-listing packet, where how you price it decides at what price it gets sold and whether it stays on the market longer or it gets sold with multiple offers. That was mind-blowing. So thank you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, the pricing will tell you how many people are going to come see the house. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you. I mean, I would be a homeowner who would be, moved by that. So
Yep.
I know I can sell that. Thank you.
That's great. Anyone else? Anyone else? Any last ahas for today? See one in the chat here. It says, I like that we have tools to go over before we're even out there with a client. Yeah, that's huge. Set you up as a professional, plants the seeds of working with you and handle some objections as well. So yeah. All right, team. That's sellers today.
Malone right now.
You know where to get your scripting. You know where to get your presentations. You know how to get the commands. Now you just got to take little chunks one at a time and get it done. Anything else, folks, before we wrap up today?
I wanted to
You
ask,
hung me up.
I'm part of the Cerritos office, but if I wanted to connect with AJ posted, there's somebody named Adam who door knocks and from the Mirado office.
Yep.
Is there a way I can connect with people from our sister offices? Because I guess in our Cerritos group, we just have agents from our office, right?
Yeah, basically. So, I mean, we have all three offices represented on these Zooms for Ignite.
Okay.
A great way is to connect through the Ignite classes. But if you ever want to pop into one other, just go and say hi, introduce yourself. Absolutely. Right. We do these together because we want you guys to engage and connect. And a big part of being successful in real estate is having good relationships with your peers. And between the three offices, we do close to 2,000 deals a year. So, deals are getting done, obviously, with our associates here. So, yeah. And I know Cerritos and La Mirada just did a picnic recently together. And I know Long Beach is talking about doing some sort of something collaboratively with all three as well. So keep an eye out. We'll post about it and let you know when you have chances to come and meet everybody.
La Mirada office is having the poker night this Thursday. So I know Adam's going to be there, a bunch of other people. Great time to network and ask some of the questions that you're looking to ask.
And somebody's got to teach me poker. I haven't played it.
Yeah, they'll do that too. They give out cheat sheets and everything. It's only $20 and half of it's going to charity anyway. So it's a good time.
Yeah, just bring your money. They'll help you out.
Practice for Vegas next month.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, team. I'm going to wrap it up. Great job. If you have questions, reach out, and I will see you guys soon. We'll have, I think, the buyer side on Thursday, and then we wrap it all up next week. So we're getting real close to being done with this. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'm here for you. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Appreciate it.
much.
You got it.
All right, Nick.
Thank you.
You got it. Have a good one, everybody.